World Bank to approve $750 million loans to Nigeria Tuesday. African Development Bank pledges funding for Nigeria's special agro-industrial processing zone expansion to 24 states. Federal government moves to avert a fuel supply crisis, promises stability. Oil slips as Kurdistan crude exports resume. OPEC Plus plans output hike. Asia markets trade mixed. Australia Central Bank starts two-day policy meeting. The program is Business Express, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Abuja, your guide. World Bank is expected to approve two major loans totaling $750 million for Nigeria on Tuesday, September 30, 2025. According to information available on the bank's official website, the loans aim to strengthen Nigeria's healthcare security and expand access to climate-resilient digital infrastructure, particularly in underserved areas. The financing package includes a $500 million facility for the Building Resilient Digital Infrastructure for Growth in Nigeria project and a $250 million loan under the Health Security Program in Western and Central Africa. Nigeria Phase 2. Both projects are currently listed in the World Bank's active pipeline, with negotiations at advanced stages ahead of the scheduled board approval. The U.S. $15 trillion Eurobond market could offer Chinese issuers a gateway to international investors and greater flexibility as their funding needs grow, according to executives at clearinghouse Euroclear. The Eurobond market, the world's third largest debt market after the U.S. and China, allows companies and governments to raise capital outside their home markets and currencies without necessarily being tied to Europe or the euro. The Eurobonds typically offered larger maturities than domestic markets and allowed issuance in 55 different currencies and under 80 legal regimes. Another currency, how much is the Naira exchanging for the currencies? Let's see. Now, the federal government has secured a renewed funding commitment from the African Development Bank, AFDB, to scale up the second phase of the Special Agro-Industrial Processing Zones, SAPS. The expansion will extend the program to 24 additional states, moving beyond the initial 7 states at the Federal Capital Territory. according to a statement by Stanley Okwacha, Senior Special Assistant to the Vice President on Media and Communications. On September 28, the pledge was made following Vice President Kashim Shettima's meeting with AFDB President Dr. Sidi Ould Tah in New York during the 88th United Nations General Assembly. The Nations General Assembly is often criticized as a global talk shop, yet Nigeria's delegation at United Nations General Assembly 88 returned with a flurry of specific deliverables. A landmark HIV drug price cut, a major subnational development partnership with the Gates Foundation, and a bold $900 billion investment marketing package across energy and solid minerals on the conversation today. We move beyond the headlines to analyze the structural integrity, fiscal implications, and long-term viability of these commitments. We want to know, are these a genuine catalyst for sustainable growth, or are they politically necessary but physically challenging declarations? Now, to do that, we have an economist, Isho Aliu. You're welcome to Business Express.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Now, to begin the conversation, well, the fiscal efficiency and human capital returns, let's begin with that. Lenaka Pavir deal, which is aimed at reducing the cost of HIV prevention drug from $28,000 to $40 annually, is a massive reduction in the unit cost of healthcare delivery. What are the projected economic returns of this investment in human capital for Nigeria?
First of all, in discussing the outcome of United Nations General Assembly 88, we have to also look at Nigeria as a nation that is 65 in some days coming. The two are going in more or less a parallel direction that is moving forward. Lenica drugs, which Nigeria has intervened, is a very good intervention, especially when we look at the suspension of USAID by the American president in terms of assisting developing countries and emerging economies to deliberately put strength in their fiscal responsibilities. However, it is a good development, but what is more important in looking at the outcome is that, of course, it's going to be a huge commitment. $40, looking at the foreign exchange, is still high for a Nigerian citizen, but however, the partnership that has been engaged is going to bring a lot of so-called financing sector, especially when we look at the deficit that is existing both at the general hierarchy of structural formation of Nigeria, that is from the federal, the state, and the local government. When we look at the high deficit and we look at the high underperformance, especially in terms of budgeting process, this reduction will significantly add value to the human capital development.
Now, from an economist perspective, how significant was Nigeria's overall participation at the UN General Assembly in terms of securing tangible economic development gains?
You have said in the background that more or less it has become a talk show, but when we look in depth into partnership and other subnational engagement, there is a lot to achieve, especially by the pronouncement of Nigeria joining over 150 countries for the liberation of Palestine, which is very significant. The second aspect is that as for Nigeria to still show our strength in terms of population, in terms of economic size, and also to look at permanent seat. These are the two things that we have to congratulate the Vice President for advancing. It's very historic, but there are issues that are more of importance than this. That is, what are we getting out from United Nations for the prosperity of a common Nigerian? And this have to do with especially the development of our agriculture, the development of our health sector, the development of our infrastructure, especially, as you mentioned in the background, development of sub-sectors, including the mining sector, the solid mineral sector, including the oil and gas.
Okay, do you see this year's outcomes as a shift from rhetoric to actionable deals, or are they still largely policy-level commitments?
They are presently at policy-level commitment, especially when we look at the domestic economy is undergoing a lot of reforms, and Nigeria also has projected some engagement that will assist the reform, especially on taxation, especially in investment. These are the two key areas that are very significant in enhancing our fiscal ability. Fiscal ability has to do with the budgeting process, what we are projecting, how we are projecting it, and then the models we are going to employ to achieve the various economic goals, especially that the economy has a target of $1 trillion economy, not only having the target, but putting on different reforms that include fiscal reforms, energy reforms, and with the outcome of the engagement, especially with subnationals, where you see some engagement between state government and other international partners, especially Melinda and Melinda Gates Foundation. These are good things that we have begun to yield results, especially at the subnational in Kaduna State, for instance. Development of lithium mining, which is significant in terms of providing job opportunities, providing additional revenue, and then sophistication of the mining sector itself. So once you have that achieved, definitely there is going to be a lot of investment, and when we have additional investment and capital inflow will now take over some of these critical financing sectors.
Okay, you talk about Bill and Melinda Gates. I think Kaduna State signed the Kaduna Mutual Accountability Framework with the Gates Foundation. How important is it for Nigerian states to somehow independently secure global partnership of this kind?
Like I said initially, we need to develop solid minerals. And in developing solid minerals, we need to develop the healthcare deliveries. And if you are to help in building healthcare deliveries, international partnership will assist in easy ways of funding, cross-fertilization of ideas, and including the capital inflow. Agriculture is also very significant. Kaduna is agri-based economy, and now the state is attempting to expand into solid minerals. So once you have this subnational engagement and you get some individuals that have potentials around the globe and they have influence around the globe, there is a lot of potentials which other state necessarily has to copy, because the Melinda and Bill were in Kaduna State since during El-Rufai administration. But for Obasani to sustain this commitment is a welcome development, and I think it's a shift where Kaduna State is expected to have better opportunities in terms of healthcare delivery, agricultural performance, including manufacturing.
Now, could this help competition among states, and what economic impact might that bring?
No, once you have various ideas flowing in and you have various stakeholders coming in and you have domestic potential, the potentials, if it is exploited maximally, then definitely is going to be a plus to the entire GDP of the state and then GDP of a nation at large.
Now, Nigeria pitched $200 billion energy transition opportunity and $700 billion solid minerals potential to global investors. In your view, how realistic is it that Nigeria can attract the scale of investment required?
Before you go into even rating the implication of investment, we look at the capacity. Nigerian oil and gas, the gas sector itself, over 21 trillion cubic meters, is a large reserve, which if it is tapped, if it is used, and if it is efficiently utilized, is going to bring a change or a change of model in terms of energy infrastructure. We are deficient in terms of so much of this energy requirement, especially for our industrial purposes. So, but when investment of 200 billion is coming, and if it's efficiently used and the right places are touched, then definitely we are going to see a shift, and that shift would translate to prosperity. And if it is translated to prosperity, then the living standard of the people will continue to increase. Remember that the more you invest in energy, the lower the cost will be for the consumption, and also the potential of foreign exchange. Remember that all investment has to do with additional capacity, and that additional capacity has to do with an additional income. So garbage in, garbage out. Once investments and the right people are investing and the right technology is applied, then definitely what we are expecting to have a shift, and the realization of $1 trillion economy is become more visible.
Now, Mr. Liu, before I let you go, the government also unveiled new national industrial policy targeting industrial GDP growth from 10% to 25% within a decade. How achievable is this goal, given Nigeria's current economic structure?
Like we said, all this reform that is going on, the tax reform, the fiscal reform, the monetary reform, all is attached to realization of GDP growth. And this GDP growth has to do with the efficiency that is involved. So in my opinion, it is a good idea, it is a good development, but what is more important is political sincerity into the development of industrialization. Remember, no nation can have maximum growth without industrialization, and no nation can have maximum industrialization without efficient energy. So the energy reform, as advocated, there is need for all tiers of government to be serious in energy production, so that the cost unit at which is going to be applied will be more friendly to consumers, friendly to investors, and at the end it will translate to the good GDP.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ishewa Liu. It's a pleasure having you on the program.
Thank you very much.
Now, moving on, the Corporate Affairs Commission, the CAC, and the Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency of Nigeria, SPEDEN, have launched a free business registration for 250,000 nano, micro, and small enterprises across the country. Muplanda Kok reports that the initiative was announced in Abuja at the signing of a memorandum of understanding between the two agencies.
Formalization has been a challenge for many small businesses, with cost, bureaucracy, and lack of awareness keeping many entrepreneurs in the informal sector. This often denies them access to finance, markets, and government support.
From company registration and what.
Now, the new CAC SMEDEN scheme aims to remove these barriers by covering the cost of registration and linking the beneficiaries directly to SMEDEN's MSME database.
So this MOU provides the framework for CAC and SMEDEN to offer free business name registration to 250,000 micro and small enterprises across Nigeria. Through this collaboration, CAC will waive all statutory fees and ensure a seamless registration process that enables beneficiaries to receive their certificates without delay.
The registered businesses have been assured of access to aftercare and opportunities like grants, capacity building programs, technical support, and market linkages.
And so we are so excited. I think it's one day in the lives of small businesses. And in 2 years, we've been able to come together to say, what are the problems that are confronting our small businesses? And one of the first things is the business registration.
The free registration drive is designed to strengthen Nigeria's MSME ecosystem.
Cement, iron rods prices remain high despite inflation decline. Let's now take a trip to the commodities markets. Now on the summary of how stocks fared last week, let's join the Lion Joe.
And market capitalization appreciated by 0.20% to close the week at 142,133.03 basis points and 89.960 trillion naira. A total turnover of 7.684 billion shares worth 494.126 billion naira in 116,645 deals were traded by investors on the floor of the exchange. The financial services industry led the activity chart with 6.399 billion shares valued at 71.807 billion naira in 54,799 deals. The oil and gas industry followed with 730.517 million shares worth 391.364 billion naira in 7,059 deals, while the services industry took the third place with a turnover of 128.647 million shares worth 962.909 million naira in 5,863 deals. For trading in the top three equities, Unity Bank, Araldale Holdings, and Consolidated Hallmark Holdings plc took the lead and accounted for 5.209 billion shares worth 404.945 billion naira in 2,667 deals, contributing 67.79% and 81.95% to the total equity turnover in volume and value. For exchange-traded products, a total of 154,589 units valued at 23.314 million naira were traded in 222 deals. While for bonds, a total of 75,196 units valued at 73.976 million naira were traded in 27 deals. On summary of price changes, 32 equities appreciated in price during the week, 51 equities depreciated in price, while 64 equities remained unchanged. Olayinka Ojo for Business Express.
And now to global stock market. Asia Pacific markets traded mixed Monday, while the Reserve Bank of Australia will kickstart its two-day policy meeting where it is expected to hold its cash rate steady at 3.6%. Maria Zakari is standing to take us through stocks around the globe. Maria, it's over to you.
Thank you, Musa. International markets are mostly in positive territory this Monday. European stocks are up as investors kept a close eye on the possibility of a U.S. government shutdown later this week. DAX of Germany was at 0.02% or 23,734. FTSE of the UK is up 0.48% or 9,329. And we have the CAC of France up also 0.23% or 7,888. Over in Asia, markets mostly traded higher. A standout was Sony Financial Group, which jumped nearly 16% on its first day of trading after being spun off from its parent, Sony Group. The Nikkei 225 of Japan is down 0.69% at 45,043. We have Shanghai Composite of mainland China up 0.90% or 3,862. We have the Hang Seng Index of Hong Kong also up 1.89% or 26,622. Meanwhile, in the U.S., stock futures climb as Wall Street tried to bounce back from a rocky week, where the buzz around the artificial intelligence cooled off a bit. The Dow is up 0.65%. We have S&P 500 reflecting at 0.59%. Nasdaq Composite also at 0.44% higher. At the same time, Africa markets are in mixed trade. We have South Africa JSE Top 40 up by 0.76%. We have Kenya down 0.68%. Tunisia up 0.14%. Namibia in red at 0.26%. And we have Ghana in green at 0.32%. That's it for global market. I am Maria Aduzaka. It's back to Musa.
Well, quite a mixed sentiment there, and I can see African markets over there. Well, thank you, Maria, for that update. Well, this is where we end this edition of Business Express. We value your feedback, so keep the comments, observations, and suggestions coming. Be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on the NTS channel. Business Express returns on Tuesday at 9:30 a.m. I'm Musa Bakar. Thanks for watching and enjoy the rest of your day.